Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Gary Owen, the Get Some podcast. And my guest this week is...
This motherfucker Gary.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Gary Owen with the Get Some podcast. We will start off with my schedule. Thank you to everybody last week in Las Vegas and Glenside, Pennsylvania that came out. We sold out the Palms Hotel, and we sold out one show at the Keswick Theater in Glenside. So thank you to everybody that came out. I'll get into Vegas in a minute. It was an interesting weekend. But this weekend, Friday night, I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania with Martin Lawrence. Saturday, I'm in Cleveland, Ohio with Martin Lawrence. Sunday, I'm in Fort Wayne, Indiana at the Embassy Theater. And then next week on August 8th, I'm in Shreveport, Louisiana for the 50 Cent Humor and Harmony. That's that insane lineup with Cat Williams and Matt Rife and Andrew Schultz and Earthquake and Bill Bellamy. And it's like 23 comics on the show. It's ridiculous. DC Young Fly. And then August 9th, I'm in Tucson, Arizona at the Rialto Theater. August 10th, I'm in Biloxi, Mississippi with Martin Lawrence. And then August 11th, I'm in Jackson, Mississippi at Johnny T's. Everything, all my dates are always on my website, GaryOwen.com. And let's finish up August 16th through the 18th. I'm in Tacoma, Washington at Nate Jackson's Super Funny Comedy Club. My first time there ever. August 23rd to the 25th, I'm in Hartford, Connecticut at the Funny Bone. And then we'll end the month August 30th through September 1st. I'm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania at the Helium Comedy Club. And then the first week of September, I'm in Hawaii. 6th and 7th, I'm in Hawaii at the Blue Note. So make a trip. You know, it's right there. Just book a flight, come on out to Hawaii and hang out with me and the Weiner brothers at the Mai Tai bar. We're going to be running that joint that week. So yeah, Vegas was amazing. Like, I've had a good run at the Palms. I usually do it in July. I used to do the Orleans Casino, and then about 5 years ago, I started doing the Palms, and then COVID hit, and obviously I didn't do it for like 3 years. And then we brought it back, and ever since we came back, it's just been amazing. I love that Pearl Theater inside the Palms. It's so beautiful. The sound system, the way the stage is set up, it's just a dope spot. Regardless, they do a lot of award shows there and stuff. But I guess there was a huge wreck, like a truck on 15 that's coming from California into Nevada. A truck turned over and had lithium in it, and it shut down the highway for like 2 days. And it's funny, man, like sometimes audiences, they don't realize what comedians are going through just to get on stage. And sometimes, even as long as I've been doing it, man, you see somebody and what they go through just to make a show, and you appreciate it, and it puts everything back into focus. Like, man, we really grind in this business, because I had my regular guys. I got my guy Rob. I had Mailman on the show, OG Stank. I had T-Robe. Anybody see me on the road in the last couple of years, you've seen those three guys with me. But I got this young cat, and I've talked about him in the past, Adam Fynke, right? And he comes out with me every now and then. But he texted me a couple weeks ago. He goes, man, I don't want to overstep my boundaries, man, but I would love to be on the show in Vegas. He goes, no, I'm not looking to make money. He goes, I just want the experience in front of a big theater like that. And I said, yeah, man. I said, you don't have to ask. You want a guest spot and you want to show up? Just come. I'm going to put you on. I mean, you're my guy. So we was lucky because the Palms was nice enough to get Adam a hotel room for a couple nights. And so they covered his lodging. And he got caught in that traffic jam. So he was on the highway for 11 hours, stuck. Turned back around. He's leaving L.A. to go to Vegas. He gets stuck in the traffic jam. They just shut off the highway, so he wasn't getting to Vegas driving. He turns back around, drives back to L.A., gets a last-second Spirit flight and makes it in time for the show. He's supposed to get into town Friday. He didn't get in until Saturday. He spent all day Friday stuck on the highway. Gets back to L.A., finds out he can get on a flight, Spirit, gets out to Vegas like at 4 o'clock Saturday. The show's at 8, and he made it. And we was backstage, and he was telling me the whole story. I go, shut up, shut up. And so it was just, you forget how precious stage time is, especially in your first couple years of stand-up, man. And sometimes you appreciate guys going through all that. And then it reminds you, like, of your grinding days, the stuff that, and I'm those, it's not like my story's one story, but I'm sure there's 1,000 comics out there that got crazy, funny, struggling road stories. Those are the best stories. It's not I ripped, I'm making a lot of money. The best stories in stand-up is in the beginning when you're struggling and the shit you go through and the shitty hotels, and sometimes they're putting you at comic condos, which are always disgusting. You're always coming behind the comic that was before you, and they might smoke or do drugs or condoms, and they're usually not hiring like A1 professional cleaners. They're hiring like a waitress and giving her a couple $100 to clean the condo every week. So it's not like in the beginning those condos are just plush Airbnbs. Most of them were terrible. A couple of them were nice, but most were terrible. But, you know, when Adam told me the whole story, I was like, oh, man, those days when you're just excited to get on stage. Now I'll share a couple of my grind stories. I remember when Def Jam was coming around, I was making a little name for myself in San Diego. I was becoming like the guy, so to speak, the local guy. That was funny. And Def Jam came, and I just remember everyone, the local promoter that brought Def Jam, and everybody, they was begging me, like begging the promoters, just put this guy up for a couple minutes. And they did. They put me up for like less than 5 minutes to open the show. And I remember Mike Epps was on that show. Samora was on it. Red Grant was on it. And this is like late 90s sometime. I had no TV credits, nothing. But they were nice enough to put me up. And I just remember it was just such a rush. The first time you get on a big theater and the crowd, and then they laugh and you're like, yo. First time as a comic you get thousands of people laughing at a joke, you're like, oh, I'm in. It's the most addicting drug you can have. I've never done heroin or crack or cocaine or meth, but if that's the rush you get, I get why people become drug addicts, because the laughter is a drug in itself. So the fact that Adam did that, and then he kept thanking me after the show, I said, nah, thank you. That's when I was like, how much was your flight? I gave him the money for his flight. That's the least I could do. But I was just like, man, he was so appreciative and so just like, oh, and he brought another comic with him. And so it was cool to talk to her too. So yeah, it's just funny, like some of the stuff we go through. And not that comics are any different than guys working 9 to 5 or women working 9 to 5. It's not like I'm saying this like, you don't know what we go through. It's a shitty life being a stand-up. I'm not saying it for that. I just think some people, they just think we got the greatest life and we're all making a ton of money and we go on that stage and it's just like easy work. Sometimes the hardest part about our job is getting to the stage. Literally the travel to get from your house or your apartment to whatever stage is, whatever city or state it's in. That's the hard part of our show, of our life. So I remember one time I had a college in Myrtle Beach, and the flight got delayed, and I literally went to the flight attendant and I said, yo, can I get off? I don't have luggage. And she was like, what do you need to do? And I was like, I'm opening up for the Rolling Stones tonight in Miami. Complete lie, by the way. I did have a show in Miami. I was at the Improv in Coconut Grove. But I was at a point where I was doing Thursday through Sunday at comedy clubs. And if I didn't make that Thursday show, they're going to prorate me for the other shows. So I was at a point where I couldn't afford to lose any money. So I was like, I got to make this show. So the plane pulled back in to the gate, and literally the flight attendant was like, because it was fog. Nobody could leave because of fog. So they was like, anybody wants to get off the plane, you can. We're not leaving for a little bit. I know a lot of you are going to miss your connections, but you can always drive. Because I guess Charlotte was a decently close airport. I was trying to get to Miami. So I went and got a rent-a-car, drove from Myrtle Beach to Miami. And this is how I did it in my head. I think it was 700 miles. And I was like, okay, if I do 70 miles an hour, I'll be there in 10 hours. It was like 9 in the morning. I was like, I can make that. What I didn't know, I know from Myrtle Beach to 95 South, it's a couple hours on back roads. So you can't go 65, 70. The speed limit's like 35, 40. Mug, of course I'm speeding, but I'm still looking around for cops and stuff. I saw like a sign that said 95 South 10 miles. And I already been on the road a couple hours. I'm already behind schedule because I didn't go 70 miles an hour. I gunned it. I'm thinking I'm doing like 95 and probably like a Chevy Cavalier back then. This is 20 years ago. And cop lights me up. Woo! I was like, oh, shit. He pulls me over, and I'm on some side road where there's nothing but big, thick trees on both sides of the road. We're not on 95 yet. I'm not even on the main road. Now I'm on some side, almost dirt road. And the cops light me up. And he's not walking up to my car. He thinks I'm on the run. I didn't realize I was doing like 90 and a 30. So I'm reckless driving. He's telling me put my hands out the car, drop my keys, step out, walk backwards, put my hand on the hood. He comes up, pats me down. He does all this. He doesn't do anything. He tells me to stay in the car till another cop car showed up. I think they thought I robbed somebody or was on the run. So now I got two cop cars. They got me on the hood like this, and they pat me down, and they go like, they never put me in handcuffs, but they was like, why were you going that fast? And I was like, that's when I just went, I'm a comedian. I got a show tonight in Miami at American Airlines Arena. I'm opening up for the Rolling Stones. And the only reason I said that was I looked up, and the Rolling Stones were in Miami that night. And I was like, oh, that's what I'm going to say, in case they looked it up. And one of the cops was white. The other cop was black. The black one recognized me. And I was like, oh, thank God. He's like, man, you comedian, right? Comic View? And I was like, yeah. And then, so thank God he recognized me. So they told me, like, yo, we're supposed to take you in. We called in for, like, reckless and endangering driving or something. We're supposed to take you in. And if they would have taken me in, I would have been in Myrtle Beach or wherever I was, whatever area I was, for the weekend. I'd have been stuck in jail. And so they let me off. They didn't arrest me. Did get a ticket. $440 was my speeding ticket because it was like ridiculously. What's with me and 44,000 in alimony, $440 with this ticket. What's the deal? I think I was probably going 44 miles over the speed limit. But they let me go, and it was so funny because the one cop was like, all right, Gary, listen, we want you to make your show. He said, we're not going to arrest you. We're going to let you go. I had DVDs in my back, in the trunk, too. I had merch. So I gave them both a couple DVDs. I think I had in my backpack. I hooked them up. And then he told me the speed limit. He goes, all right, now in South Carolina, the speed limit is 65. You can go up to 74. We're not going to pull you over once you get on 95. Now, once you hit Georgia, it's going to clip on up to 70. You can go up to 79. They kept telling me how fast I can go without going over. So it was so funny. They were basically giving me heads up on how fast to go without getting arrested or getting pulled over. You know, Georgia, they're not going to pull you over if you're only 9 miles an hour over the speed limit. And once you get to 10, they're required to pull you over. So don't go over 10 miles an hour. You're good. And when you get to Florida, it's going to dip back down to 65. It was just, I was like, thanks. Appreciate it. So long story longer, I made the show at the Improv that night, and then I just got a great story I just told on my podcast. Oh, so $440. But it was just it's just another story of what sometimes stand-ups go through just to make a show. Like I was like, I'm gonna drive 10 hours. But I always look at it too like this. I always looked at it like from the grassroots of it. You know, people pay good money to see you. You gotta deliver. Whether I don't care if like 10 people are your fans or 10,000. Somebody's like got a babysitter. You know, some people like literally got their paycheck and said, you know, we're going to spend it on Gary. We're going to go see him. Because you go to comedy clubs, 2-drink minimum, probably buying food, tickets. You know, it's a night out. It's a chunk out of your bank account. So I always want to make sure that people know I appreciate it, and I'm going to do whatever I can to make those shows and make sure they leave that show in a better mood than when they got there. And it's so funny, like, you as stand-ups, we go to these different cities. So, like, next weekend, I'm in Biloxi, Mississippi. This is my first time back in Biloxi since 2015, and I will never forget the last time I was in Biloxi, Mississippi, because it was the day after my brother passed away. And I just remember people were calling the casino and saying, is he coming? We heard his brother died. Is he coming? We heard his brother died. And I was like, yeah, I'm going. Because I find out my brother died. I find out my brother passed away. And then that day, I was home all day, and you're grieving. And then the next day, I flew to Biloxi for the show. And then the day after Biloxi, I flew back home. And I just remember that show, I broke down on stage at the end of the show because I was telling my jokes and everything was going good. I was an hour in. I could tell the crowd kind of knew. And then I just told them, like, you know, sometimes you guys come here for relief of your stress, and you guys need that. But I was like, I needed you guys tonight. I needed you guys just to laugh and to keep my mind off of things and all that. And I just remember that was that flight home from Biloxi, the last time I was there in 2015, was just like the most. It's a flight I'll never forget. That's a show I'll never forget. Because I just remember the whole time I was just thinking about, dang, I'm literally flying home to bury my brother. That was such a surreal just moment in my life in that show. And so to go back, and it goes back to like stand-ups, man. It's what we do. We do. People pass away. We got to get up and make people laugh. You know, going through a divorce, you got to get on stage and make people laugh. You know, not getting along with your kids, got to get on stage and make people laugh. You know, a lot of stuff. IRS coming after you, got to get on stage and make people laugh. The doctor says you got, you know, something. I'm thinking about Charlie Murphy. Charlie Murphy knew he didn't have a lot of time left. He's still getting on stage making people laugh, man. It's in us. It's in us when you're a stand-up. I mean, Charlie Murphy literally was going on stage knowing I ain't got a lot of time left. But something was drawing him to that stage. Because at that point, he didn't really have to get on stage for the money. He was good. He was doing it because he loves it. And I think it helped him live longer, honestly. Keeps us young. If you're not doing drugs and drinking all the time, this life will keep you young. Because your brain's always working. You know what I mean? So, yeah, and then Jackson after that. So, yeah, just a couple stories. Now, listen, last week, Vegas, I forgot. Shouts out to the Weiner brothers, the same guys I went to Greece with. They stayed in the stateside United States. You know, they live in Hawaii. And then we partied in Vegas. They brought these Korean dudes with them. I guess they live in Hawaii with them. These 3 Korean dudes. They were some wild boys. Wild boys. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I don't want to. What is it? Implicate? Is that the right word? I don't want to say shit. I just know Koreans can go. They can party. Japanese guys can party. We went hard after my show in Vegas. So shouts out to the Korean boys with the Weiner brothers. And now everybody's back in Hawaii. But, yeah, that was my body was tired, boy. You got to realize I went from Greece, came back to Houston, was here for 2 days, less than 48 hours, probably 32 hours in Houston, fly out to Vegas, got my show in Vegas, 2 days in Vegas, and then I got to fly from Vegas to Philly on Sunday to make my show at the Keswick Theater Sunday night, and that, you know, you lose 3 hours going West Coast to East Coast. So I didn't land till like 5:30 in the Philly. I didn't even go to my hotel. The promoter had somebody picking me up. We drove straight to the theater. I changed in the theater, went on stage, great show. I just remember when I got back to my room after that show in Glenside, Pennsylvania, and I had a 6 a.m. flight to get back to Houston, my body just shut down. I fell asleep in my clothes, on top of the covers. I just lay back in the bed, and it's one of the few times in my life my body shut down. It was like, we've had enough. So I was like, damn, I got to get up at like 4:30. Thank God Philadelphia has a Marriott in the airport. So I was like, I just stayed there. And I just remember, I just woke up. It was like I woke up like the Undertaker. It was like, I fell asleep probably at 10 p.m. when I got back in my room and just woke up like, and I looked and it said 4:30. And I just the clothes I had on, I just carried my bag and got on the plane. 6 a.m. and I got back to Houston. Oh my God. I literally half died that night. When I got back there, I was like, I passed out so hard when I got back to Houston. My body was tired, man. That was a lot of traveling, a lot of different time zones, and a lot of days. And at the expense of, I did indulge. Like Greece, I partied. Vegas, I partied. And then didn't party in Philly, obviously. So, but I had my friends with me and everything. And it was cool thing is, like, I'm in Houston. And I invested in Toca Madera. They got a Toca Madera in Houston, Texas now. Now, there's a Toca Madera in Vegas. There's a Toca Madera in L.A. There's one in Scottsdale. And now there's one in Houston. And they're opening up one in Miami. So I invested in the one in Houston. So I got to take the Winers and the Korean boys to the Toca Madera in Vegas. And they just laid out the red carpet for us and took care of us. And shouts out to the Toca in Houston. If you come to Houston, Texas, I mean, all the Toca Maderas are great, but Houston's got the best one. I'm not just saying that because I invested in it. I mean it. Nah, Houston's got the best one. The fire dancers, the steak, best branzino of all the restaurants. That branzino at Toca Madera is so goddamn good. I wish who's the critic? Keith Lee, the sensitive guy. Keith Lee. I wish he would go to Toca Madera in Houston and do a film, do a critic on that. But we don't really need it because we're doing well. We killing. It's not just the food, it's the experience. The fire dancers, the atmosphere, pretty women, good-looking dudes. It's just a good place to be. If you want to see good-looking people of all nationalities, of all age groups, go to Toca. It's an adult-only spot. I won't say all age groups. It's an adult-only spot. But the one in Houston, and we got about to open up a speakeasy in the back. Shh. Got to know about that. Yeah, it's about to be off the chain. Man, I love going to that place. And let me tell you something. I'm not a big dessert guy anymore. My favorite dessert on a planet, I feel like a food critic right now. I ain't hyping up a spot I invested in. I get that. But if I'm not, who else is? The strawberry tres leches, that dessert, shut the up. That thing is so goddamn good. Oh, my God. If you're going to go, trust me on this one. They're going to try to say other desserts. That's fine. The other desserts are great. Ain't nothing as good as that strawberry tres leches at Toca Madera. And you got to order like that. Let me get that tres leches. That strawberry tres leches. It's so good. Because the first time I went, they had like a family and friends and investors. They had like a night for us. Before Toca Madera opened in Houston, they had a night where we could all come and sample all the food and try it. They got like 5 or 6 desserts. They laid them all out. So I said, I'm going to take a bite of all of them, just see what it tastes like. So I was taking small bites of this one. I hit that tres leches. I literally went like this. I was like, yeah, that's mine. There was like 8 people at my table. I said, nah, this ain't no good. I crushed that whole thing. It was so good. I was licking the plate like a little kid. That's how good it was. So if you're going to ask for my recommendations, if you go to Toca Madera, get the branzino. Steak's going to be steak. It's good. The steak's going to be good. But the other stuff on the menu, the tres leches, strawberry tres leches, and the branzino. Trust and believe. Can't go wrong with those two. I'm telling you. I'm not just a customer. I'm not just a client. I'm also not an employee, but I'm an investor. So I'm not going to steer you wrong on that. Ain't no way you're going to come back and be like, you lying, Gary. No, I ain't. I put it on my kids right there, on my kids. So, yeah. So there was a story I forgot to talk about last week about Greece, and I can't believe it. I had so much stuff happened in Greece that I forgot. So when we were in Mykonos, the Weiner brothers, the Wild Boys, they were telling me they met this guy in Croatia, and they was like, he said he was a doctor. You already know where this story's going. I said he was a doctor, and said he knew people. He was tapped in socially and everything. So the first night we got to Mykonos, we went to this place called Namos. It's a wonderful restaurant, but it's more like a party scene. It's around the beach. And he came, and I'm watching him. You know, I'm looking at him. He's a doctor. And then he was like, he got here right when we was done eating, but that mug was killing the food. The leftovers, basically. We were done eating, so we had like steak, fish, vegetables, everything else. He was like, you want anything? Normally when people show up late like that, they might try something, but 9 times out of 10, people don't really eat like that. If they're meat, he basically met us to we were going to Scorpios, another club after we ate. So we sat down I'm making this up, we sat down at 6. He got there at like 8. And I was like, we were getting ready to get up, but we still had food on the table. He was taking the food and killing it. And I was like, man, to be a doctor? He ain't ate yet? And then he was, whatever. Went out that night with him. I'm watching him. And I'm not thinking nothing of it. I'm trusting my guys, and I'm seeing this guy is super aggressive with women. It's like he'll grab one, and then if she's not feeling him, he'll grab another one. He had no shame in this game. It's like, look, somebody gonna say yes. And I'm watching him move the room. Then I told you after Scorpios, I went back to my hotel, and then they called me like, we're going to a hip-hop spot. We go to the hip-hop spot. I see the guy again. He's being super aggressive again. I'm like, I'm talking about when a woman walks in, he's on them. And I was like, that's weird behavior for a doctor. Because I'm thinking if you're a doctor, you're used to people coming to you. Doctors sit in offices and patients come to them. So to see him just be aggressive everywhere we went the first night, I go, man, that's the most aggressive doctor I've ever met in my life. Next night, told you we went to this place called Leo's. It's like a Vegas show. Super gay guys in it there's women, but there's guys, and they were super gay. And then again, he shows up late. We're gonna go to a club after Leo's, and he's like supposed to take us out again, show us around a little bit. Again, he starts eating. We're done. The food's just on the table. He got there like that night. We got there about 10, and we ate till 12. So he got there about 11:30. And again, we was like, you want anything to eat? He starts grabbing the rest of the food again. I'm like, hey, this guy don't eat? It was so odd to me. I know it doesn't sound like a big deal. It was odd to me being a doctor. And then I saw him start working the room. He saw a woman. He's going after her again. And he really started talking to this one girl. And I'm kind of looking. And I still have no reason to say he's not a doctor. And I'm telling you all the other stuff because this is where the shit hits the fan right now. He goes to my buddy Mark, and he's like, one of the Weiner brothers. He goes, hey, I bought a bottle for this girl. Can you spot me $400? My credit card's not working because of the power outage. And I was like, I guess there was a power outage in the States, like flights was shut down and things like that. Now we're in Greece. It's not really affecting us because we're not flying anywhere. And we were like, I remember Mark was like, what? And I thought I heard him because Mark's here. I'm on one side of Mark. He came on the other side of it. So I thought I heard him say what I thought he said. I go, wait a minute. And then Mark was like, nah, I ain't doing that. He goes, you ain't got another credit card? And then he goes, it's the power outage today. He goes, I can Zelle you or something. And Mark's like, well, Zelle it to me. And then I'll give you my credit card to charge the $400. And then he was like, yeah, I got to do that. He came up with some excuse. And then Mark just kind of said, no, he's not doing it. Then he went to, Mark's got another friend of his from Baltimore that just happened to be in Greece with us. He goes to him. Hey, can you spot me $400? My credit card's not working, the power outage. And we're like, and now Mark's buddy Ryan, he's like, nah, I'm not spotting you. I don't know you. So now he's talking to the waiter. And the waiter just kind of sitting there. And he looked at me, and I just kind of went, don't come here. I don't even know your name, bro. And then all of a sudden, he's just sitting there looking like, what are we going to do? And the motherfucker just disappeared. Like, we stayed for another 45 minutes. I was like, where'd your boy go? We thought he was in the back doing dishes or something. But when I say the dude just disappeared, I was like, oh, looks like we was messing with a scammer in Greece. And then he didn't like reach out the next 2 days. We were in Mykonos. We never heard from him again. That's when I looked at the wire and I said, yo, that dude was a scammer. And that's when it was like, what was that, The Usual Suspects? When Kevin Spacey, they realized who Kaiser Sosa was. Now, all the shit I just told you, Now the shit's replaying in my brain. Now I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. That's when I said, doctors, they come to you. I said, we were at the first restaurant, Namos. He was killing his food like he hasn't eaten. Then I said, Scorpios. He didn't pay for no drinks. We had Winers was like it was like their last week on earth. They partying, buying bottles and stuff. He's drinking, passing drinks out to girls and stuff. I'm like, I thought he was with the crew, so I wasn't tripping. I wasn't looking. Plus, I'm not paying for the bottles that night, so I was like, I'm not tripping. And then I noticed the next night when he showed up to eat at the restaurant, not to eat, he started killing all the leftovers again. I go, wait a minute. And then when he asked for the 400, I was like, oh, the power outage. And I was thinking, you got one credit card, bro? That's it? You a doctor with one credit card. That's it. You with one bank. I always tell people, you better have 2 different banks for shit like that. You ain't got to keep a lot of money in it. Make sure you got 2 bank accounts just for shit like this. And then I was like, ain't got cash? You ain't got no Zelle, Venmo, Cash App? You got nothing that you can send somebody the money right now? I was like, I think that dude's like probably just in Mykonos for the 3 months, and he's probably scamming people all the time. When I say vanished, motherfucker vanished. And now the winer's like, damn. I was like, where'd you meet him? They said, we met him in Croatia a couple years ago. He seemed to be tapped in and cool. And I guess he did hook him up with a couple like promoters and the right people for concierge services in Mykonos. But yeah, because scammers usually know where shit's at. So, yeah, so shouts out to you, buddy. I hope you hope you spent that $400. We talked about him the rest of the trip. We was like, man, we was with a scammer and didn't even know it. That's wild to me. So, I forgot there was slight drama backstage in Vegas. So, anybody knows on the road with me that goes on the road with me, they know I am quirky. I'm setting my routine. I'm not one of them people that have a lot of people in his dressing room. My dressing room isn't loud. If you find me on the road, I'm usually watching football season. I'm watching football on the TV or on my phone in my dressing room, and I like to hear the announcers. And I just don't have a lot of people with me, and so the trip to Greece, the Weiner brothers did so much for me and made the trip so good. And I know they spent a lot of money. I mean, I spent a lot of money, but they spent a lot of money. So I remember I called my manager in Greece. I said, hey, they really like this tequila called Fortaleza. I said, I don't know what we got to do, but I need the highest M bottle of that in my green room in Vegas. And it's almost like a surprise, like a thank you. And I remember my manager, Lisa, kept calling me. She was like, they don't carry it. They're going to try to get it. I have a certain budget for my green room and I never go over it, but she said, with this bottle and getting it shipped in, this might go. I said, I don't care. Take it out of my check. I want to make sure these guys got this bottle of tequila. So they got it shipped in from Mexico or somewhere, and they got the high-end bottle, the big bottle. And I just remember we walked in my green room, and I wanted to be like, fellas, surprise, I got that bottle of tequila you love, because that's all they talk about all the time. We love Fortaleza. And it's open. Somebody went in my green room, opened it, and drank like 25% of it. And as soon as we walked in, I was like, and the Winers was like, man, somebody drank out of that. I went, what? And then I looked at it, I said, you got to be shitting me. So now I'm Inspector Gadget. I'm going into all my openers because, I got Rob, I got T-Robe, I got Mailman, and I got Adam. The 4 of them. And I think they all 4 know better. But I'm thinking maybe they brought somebody that didn't know better. So most of them know you don't go into anybody's green room backstage. That's backstage etiquette. You just don't. So now I'm Inspector Gadget back there. I go to boom. Rob was like, nah, I know better. T-Rob was like, bro, I know better. Adam was definitely not doing it. He was so happy on the show and just got there from the Spirit Fly. I knew he wasn't doing it. Mailman was like, nah. So I'm like, come to find out, my old manager, Brad, who's now working with Mailman, he let a buddy of ours backstage, and this buddy had his girlfriend with him, and the girlfriend started drinking. And then she went in my green room and opened that bottle of Fortaleza. And when I was looking like who's got access to backstage, like I went to the lady of the GM of the theater, and she goes, "Yo, this is Vegas. Ain't nobody getting back here that you don't want back here." So I was looking around like, well, who do people let back? Because everybody knows I like a quiet backstage. So I knew who did it. I just kept waiting for somebody to tell me. And then finally, the day after, it came to that our buddy Mikey, Brad let him backstage with his girlfriend, and the girl went in there. She probably didn't know any better, but I was just like, man, just somebody tell me. Please don't act like I'm stupid. Because everybody's like, no, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I don't know who did it. I was like, well, I'm doing the math here. I think I know who did it. So anyways, Mikey called and apologized. It's like, I think my girl did it, man. I think it's cool, but I think it was just more of, I just went through a lot to get that certain bottle of tequila to my guys, and to have it open to kind of put a damper on the little surprise. That's all it was. So that was my major drama backstage. It was Tequilagate. Who opened the tequila? We couldn't find it, and we come to find out it was our buddy's girlfriend. So, Mikey, you're out there. You know I love you, brother. Check your woman. She don't ever go backstage at comedy shows, concerts, and you don't go into nobody's dressing room and touch their food or their liquor. And any comic out there that's a headliner, you know I'm telling the truth. When you walk into your dressing room, you want shit in order. Ain't nothing worse than feeling like you got violated. It's happened to me a couple times on the road as a headliner, and it throws you off. At least me, I'm like, who was in my shit? You feel like you got robbed, like your house got robbed. Like, we was in Miami a few years ago, and Tony Rock had a gang of people backstage. And we walk in my dressing room, it was ransacked. It had, I don't even have Oreos on my rider. They put Oreos in my green room, and they was wide open. Somebody opened up that, ate like half a sleeve, and then all my liquor was open. Like the wine, the vodka, the tequila, all of it was open. I said, who the hell went in my green room? So I'm looking around, doing the math. There's not a lot of people backstage. Tony had a gang of people in his green room, and he's in the same hallway as me. And I was like, Tony, any your people go in there? Tony's like, bro, I don't think so. And I'm not blaming Tony Rock. If he listens to this, I'm not blaming you, Tony. This was 6 years ago. It's not a big deal. But I was literally walking around to Tony's like, I only got dark liquor. So I was like, okay, I'm going to find out who's with Tony Rock. And I went and looked in people's cups. I'm petty. I'm sorry. I started looking at people's cups. So one brother, I see him on the side of the stage. I said, what you drinking, bro? He was like, you know, vodka, cranberry or something. I said, where'd you get the vodka? He goes, Tony's room. And I was like, Tony ain't got vodka. He goes, nah, he got vodka. I go, no, he don't. I just asked him. So that right there, I knew one of the culprits. I don't know if he was the only one, but I caught him. So then I was like, as I told him, I said, bro, you took that shit out of my dressing room. And then he was like, nah, bro, I ain't on that shit. I was like, no. You went in my dressing room and took my shit and opened my shit. And then he was like, nah. Then I don't know what he was doing. He started showing me pictures of all these celebs that he knows, rappers, comedians, actors. And I was like, what is this? He goes, I'm just showing you, man, I ain't on no sucker shit. I ain't like that. I ain't on no sucker shit. I go, nobody's calling you a sucker. I'm just saying you went in my green room and drank some of my shit and ate some of my food. And he was like, yo, I said, I'm not kicking you out backstage. I'm just letting you know I know. So they end up replacing all my shit. I said, I can't drink none of this. I don't know if somebody slipped something in my drink or whatever. So they end up switching everything out, and it was smooth over. But I just remember, I was like, it was so weird. I was like, when Tony said I only got brown liquor in my dressing room, I was like, man. I was like, what you drinking? What you drinking? You with Tony? What you drinking? But it was so weird when he pulled out his phone. It was showing me like a picture with him and Dwayne Wade, or a picture with him and, you know, LL Cool J. I was like, what are we doing right now? He goes, I'm just showing you, I ain't on no sucker shit. I didn't know what that meant. I was like, okay. So, yeah, that was, I don't know, he just felt a little violated. That's all. Well, no huge deal, but Tequilagate did happen in Vegas last weekend, and we did find out who did it. And shouts out to Mikey for just, I think when things happen, the older I get, I just own it. If I fuck up, I just own it. Sometimes, like, when you do wrong, I think that's one thing I've learned as I got older, man. When you mess up, if you can just own it, you can't stay mad at people. So the next day when Mikey called me and said, yeah, I think my girl did it, I was like, all right, that's all I was looking for that night. I was like, who did it? If she didn't know any better, nobody checked her. I'm not mad. I just want to know who did it. I don't like to be played and especially my guys. Like, my guys know better. So I didn't think it was them, but I was like, it's got to be somebody with them or somebody we let backstage. And then somebody, people love to talk. It's like, yo, this girl was back there drinking. She was getting it in. I don't think she did it like, fuck Gary. I don't care if it's his green room. I just think she didn't know any better. But yeah, that was a huge drama this weekend in Vegas was Tequilagate. So anyways, yeah. Football season's right around the corner. Let me tell you like this. You know how many people are about to show up for the first day of school with blonde hair after Joe Burrow showed up with that blonde shaved haircut? Cincinnati's about to be overrun. There's going to be so many M&Ms showing up first day of school from like 3rd grade to 8th grade. That's that window where it ain't about trying to get girls to be cool. You just want to be like, I love Joe Burrow. I might have did it. I think I'm a little too old, but I still might do it. I don't know. I might show up next week with a blonde buzz cut. That's because I'm all in. And Joe's looking nice and jacked, bro. If everybody stays healthy this year, I say that every year, but I'm all in. And then the Bengals got a new locker room. And the vibes are good right now in Cincinnati. We got to sign Jamar Chase, but the vibes are good. So this weekend, before I get out of here, this weekend, shouts out to my guy Andre Johnson, Houston Texans. He's going in the Hall of Fame this Saturday. Man, I told my agent, this is how the universe works in your favor sometimes. I told my agent I can't work this weekend coming up because I'm going to go to Andre's Hall of Fame thing. Like, I've known Dre since his rookie year. We've been cool. Whole family been cool with. It's some of my best memories when Andre was playing. Like, me and my kids and my ex-wife, we'd always go to one road game every year. We spent Thanksgiving with him when you're in Detroit, when the Texans played Detroit. But it's become like we're friends, but we're family. Like his mom Karen, his brother Slim, like everybody just cool, man. And so I told him, I said, I can't work this weekend. And then they said, well, Martin wants you on a couple shows. Pittsburgh Friday, Cleveland Saturday. Andre's Hall of Fame induction is Saturday. It's from 12 to 3. Pittsburgh's only 2 hours, less than 2 hours from Cleveland. Canton's only 45 minutes from Cleveland. So I was like, I can make that. So here's going to be my Saturday. I'm going to drive from Pittsburgh to Canton. The Hall of Fame speeches are 12 to 3. So I'll be there to watch Andre give his speech. I don't think it's going to be long. Andre doesn't talk that much. I told Andre the dopest speech would be like, thank you, and just dip. That would be epic. And then, so that's 12 to 3, and we'll get to mingle for a little bit. Then I got to drive up to Cleveland for the Martin show. That starts at 8. Shit, I'm going up before Martin. I'm going to be done by 9:30. And then I'm going to drive my ass back down to Canton. And then we're going to go to the party that night and celebrate Andre and the biggest night of his life, going to the Hall of Fame. So the only city that I could work in and still do a show would have been Cleveland. And that's where I'm at Saturday. So I get to go to Andre's speech, get on stage, make a little money, get to open for Martin, which is dope, starting his tour off. Then I'll be back down in Canton in time to party with Dre and all the Miami and Houston boys that night. So I'm so looking forward to Saturday to see Andre go in, man. It's just going to be dope. That will be the one time. I don't want Bengal fans thinking I'm jumping ship, but this will be the one day I'm going to be Texaned out for Dre. I will have Houston Texans stuff on. Now, I did get a Joe Mixon jersey, so I'm lying because Joe's my boy. So I did get a Joe Mixon jersey because, that's the homie. But I will have Texan stuff on Saturday. So if you see me on social media and there's posts, don't be like, Gary's bandwagon jumping ship. He moved to Houston. Now he's not with the Bengals. No. I'm still with him. It's just my homeboys going to the Hall of Fame, and I'm going to represent him that day. So relax, you diehards. So yeah, that's gonna be. I can't wait, man. So congratulations to Andre going to Hall of Fame. That's gonna be that's dope, sir. I can't wait, bro. I can't wait. It's gonna be exciting. All right, y'all. This is Gary Owen with the Get Some Podcast. We'll see y'all next week.